Hey everybody, J-Rod Plays here. Today's video is going to be going over how I was able to get the champ title done in 2 days. I got it done Wednesday evening, and as you can see here, I've got my Reveler title on, so I've got my year-long grind done. I did every season, I did every event, and this is kind of the culmination title for that. It's obviously not as impressive as like a Conqueror Gilded title, but it's still pretty cool to have something that shows that like you've been dedicated to the game for a year, and this is kind of your main game, or at least you put enough hours into it to be your main game, and that's what the Reveler title represents for me. From here, I'm going to go over the build that I used afterwards. First, I'm going to cover the actual challenges. So the challenges themselves are going to be class-wide. Thankfully, what they did this year is if you got your challenges done on one character, you got them done on all the characters. So you don't have to specifically sit on one character and just only do them on one character, but I did my Warlock as my main character, and that's what I've been running Guardian games on. In order to unlock the challenges, of course, you have to do the In It to Win It. That's going to be a quest that comes up that's going to have you do some playlist activities and then turn them into EVA, and then once you do that, you can click on In It to Win It, and you'll get like a title submachine gun that's actually pretty good. It's going to be this submachine gun here that's got Envious with Repulsor Brace, which is a nice roll, and then for PvP you've got Perpetual Rangefinder, ricochet rounds, so it's a nice weapon. I'm going to hold on to this one. As you can see, I've masterworked it, and it's a pretty good PvP roll as well as a PvE roll, which is nice because it'll cut down some of my 5 or 6 titles that I have in the collections. And going back to the challenges, you'll see that a lot of these challenges are going to overlap. So you've got your bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. These will just go up passively as you're turning in medals. You don't have to worry too much about focusing specifically on these things, although the platinum medals are going to progress them more as you go along. Talented Scout will overlap with the Classy Arsenal, because you can actually use the Taraxipos and the title to actually get kills passively throughout your grind. I particularly saved these for the end. I didn't do these as part of my grind because I had like a specific build that I was running and a kind of an idea of how I wanted to overlap as many of these challenges as I could to kind of maximize my efforts. The amount of time that I put in did the most progress across all of the challenges. But you can stack Classy Arsenal and the Talented Scout by using the Taraxipos or using that in conjunction with the title. And from here, in the cards, pretty easy. This was bugged the first day. I think they actually fixed it the second day, because the first day, like, none of the cards were counting. Maybe got like 1 out of 15, and then it didn't fix retroactively. The second day, though, it started counting platinum cards. So I was running platinum cards, and contender cards weren't counting for me, so those are still bugs. So just run platinum cards, and in this case the platinum Neomona card is the one to choose if you're trying to do your grind, and it's very important. You'll see why as I kind of tie it all together. This one here, I was running Strand, so this one just got done passively as well. So just run your Strand class, your favorite build, or you can run my exact build if you're running Warlock. Titans have a similar build as well for Titans, and they were all over the place. Of course, this particular Guardian Games has been all Titans so far the last few days. This one's Supremacy. You just got to play 10 Supremacy matches. I don't think you have to win. I think they just count, so this one's pretty easy. I did this one toward the end as well. Friendly Rivalry, same thing. These two you'll get done at the same times, because you'll be getting kills and you'll be getting the 10 Supremacy matches. Here, so this is the one. Okay, so these 3 things completed. I didn't even realize, because I completed them all together. So this, getting your 10 matches, you should be able to get your Good Games kill and your Crucible done at the same time. If not, of course, you can always just go pick them up if you're not somebody who's getting a ton of kills per game. But it was pretty fun. I'll admit it was nice to actually have the class on class. The only time that it was really toxic was when it was like all our Titans, because they were just sprinting at you with the shields, the jug shields, you know, shotgunning, because that's pretty much all they can do. So you had to really play back. And by the time you got that person killed, there was another Titan sprinting at you at the same exact time. So it was a little tough to hold off 3 or 4 Arc Titans with jug shields. Probably should have gone Witherhoard, but I was kind of being stubborn with my build. Now from here, this is the one that's going to be the main kind of underlying progress for your challenges. Once this one is complete, pretty much all the other ones will be complete when you do it the way that I did it, because this one takes so many nightfalls. I want to say it was 7%, like 6.5% per nightfall. So that was quite a grind. Looking at it, you're looking at, let's see, like 15 nightfalls. So 15 nightfalls to try to get this done. By that time, you'll have all the other ones done. And this is kind of how they tie together as well. So cloud running is complete activities on Neptune. What I did is just I grinded the Nightfall match made, and not necessarily, I'm going to be clear, not the Nightfall match made itself, but the actual Guardian Games playlist Nightfall match made. So this one here, the Guardian Games competitive playlist, which takes you into a Nightfall with the Nightfall modifiers, and I ran a match made. So that way I can just go one after another. And of course in between I was going back to the tower. I was picking up the Neomuna Platinum Bounty, and I was just back and forth, dumping my medals, and then going right back into the challenge again. So again, just to cover, you can get the Strand done at the same time. You can get the Cloud Running done at the same time, because Up for the Challenge is going to have to keep the same pace. Actually, Cloud Running was done slightly before Up for the Challenge. You can actually do the Circuit Training because you're doing the Vanguard Ops playlist, and that's all at the same time. Let's see. You were getting the platinum medals, so you were getting the bronze, platinum, and gold and silver all leveled up at the same time. This one here in the cards will actually get done as well because you're doing the platinum Neomuna card, and then from there pull some strings will get done. So basically doing that one activity 15 times will pretty much get the majority of your challenges done in a short period of time. I know it's kind of mind-numbing that you have to keep running the Hypernet Current Strike over and over again, but with my build, and I'll show you kind of some footage, you can see how easy it can be, and you can kind of get down to like 15-minute runs on average with randoms and still get some pretty high scores, just in case you're also still trying to get the high score. And if you go back to my other video that I posted on how to get platinum in the Guardian Games, you can kind of see that run and see exactly what I was doing in order to get those things done. But this is going to be the easiest way to get the or should I say the easiest path to get the title done, the champ title done. And then if you've been like me grinding all week long, you'll get the Reveler title done. As you can see here, just with LFGs, not even LFGs actually, this was just matchmaking. I haven't LFG'd yet. I got 268.6 as my platinum score, and then just running the 10 supremacies, I got up to like 1700 for the supremacy, which is enough for the platinum as well. And of course you were just getting basically mainly gold, silver, and platinum medals, not a whole lot of bronze medals in that. And if you are doing supremacy, I was running the Charge Contender, so that way as I was completing supremacy matches, I was getting that done too, and that was also helping me progress some of the other challenges. But from here, this is basically the portion that'll discuss kind of what I did. Now I'm going to go into the build, and then after I go into the build, then I'm going to go into specifically what the runs were looking like and kind of walking through a run so you can kind of maximize your time and how the build comes through. Alright, I'm just going to quickly touch on the build. In this case, it's pretty much the same build that I run for a lot of ad clear, but the way that it goes together and the weapons specifically are perfect for the Neomuna Strike. You're looking at obviously Brood Weaver, but you can do this on a Titan as well, or on a Hunter with any Strand build. This just happens to work really good with my Warlock build, and of course Warlock is my main. And some of these changes haven't gone into effect yet, with some of the changes that they're going to be reducing grenade energy generation and stuff like that. So this build is still optimal for the time being until next season. So you're looking at Shackle Grenade, which is important because you're going to eat your Shackle Grenade to get your Weaver's Trance going. That way anything that you kill with your weapons is going to put out a Suspending Blast, putting targets in the air, helping you get precision hits, and helping you get your heavy kills or your primary kills, so that way you go on your heavier primary streaks. Also Void or Strand streaks, that'll also make it to where you're getting a lot of that at the same time. And here later on you'll see some footage of me doing that on the boss fight and on the way to the opening part of the encounter. It's running Threaded Generation, of course, because dealing damage with your melee attack, your Arcane Needle, which was stacking with my Necrotic Grip, so I was doing a lot of damage that was typed as melee and getting a lot of generation for my grenade, so my grenade was pretty much up almost all the time that I needed it. And especially when you're dealing with the unstoppable champ, since this was the only way that I had unstoppables as far as stunning capabilities for unstoppables controlled, was using the shackle grenade, and so I wasn't eating it at that moment. I was actually throwing it out and then killing the unstoppable. And there was times that you'll see where I'd had 2 unstoppables coming at me, and I was able to throw a grenade and pop one unstoppable and then pop another one unstoppable. So if I still have footage of that, I'll put that up. If not, you'll at least kind of be able to see me do the one unstoppable, kill the unstoppable, and you'll see how fast the grenade comes back from just dealing the damage. Thread of Mind, this one's going to give me class ability energy when I suspend targets, which is going to be all the time because I'm going to always have the Weaver's Trance up as much as I can. This is your main survivability, so that whenever you're kind of getting low, like once you get to almost mid, you want to drop your well. That way you don't run into a situation where you're getting double damaged or you get a ton of damage hit you all at once. The Thread of Warding was nice because even though I only had 70 7 resilience, 7 tier 7, 70 resilience. This was making it to where I was super tanky, and then I was also running the Font of Endurance, so whenever I was picking up orbs from me getting the kills, I was running, actually in this case, Strand Siphon with it, because that was really the main way that I was generating orbs, and I was also sometimes swapping off to the Void Siphon as well, since I was maining the Void. So you can do Strand Siphon, you can switch off, you can do Void Siphon. My artifact is a little bit different as well when I'm running this, so I'm going to change that up so you can kind of see exactly what I did. This is from when I was running the PvP setup for the artifact still. So the next thing that we were looking at is going to be the Thread of Fury. So that one's going to give me melee energy back so that I can continue to throw out Arcane Needles, which is going to spread my Corruption, which is going to get kills, that's going to then spread my Shackle Grenades, Weaver's Trance, Suspends, so that all works out together. And then of course I've got the Threadlings, so that if I drop a well right in front of a Unstoppable or right in front of a beefy enemy, that'll help kill them for me. Although I did want to try to make sure that I was getting my kills with my Void Weapon or my primary weapon so that I can get the streaks. And then of course your Mind Spinification, which is what allows you to consume your Shackle Grenade to get your Weaver's Trance. And so that's the main build portion there. As far as the rest of the build, I kind of touched on that a little bit. I'm running heavy ammo finders, and then I was either running Strand Siphon or Void Siphon, depending on what you would like. I would probably swap this out to Void Siphon once I change over my aspects in here. So actually I'm going to do that right now, that way you can kind of see how I normally would run them. So of course I like Overload SMG, Unstoppable Scout, and Anti-Barrier Pulse. And then I was running Strand, Void, and Grenade mods. Next thing I was going to do was focus specifically on Strand, so I was running Entangler because that was allowing me to shoot and destroy tangles, which would suspend targets, and that would also help with the Unstoppables. Allied Unraveling, which is great because I was getting Unraveling rounds on my primary weapon and I was just chewing through things. Counterweave is important because that'll help you get your abilities back much quicker when you have a champion right in front of you. Bricks from Beyond was important as well for me because I was running a Void Heavy and I was kind of primarying that because that was a really nice way to get multiple stacks of metals that were going to give you points on top of points. So you were going to be getting your Void streak, you were getting your Heavy streak, you were getting your primary streak, and then you were just raining ammo down for you and your team, and then Threaded Blast. That was the main thing that I was using from there. From here, Volatile Flow was also very important for me because I was running that heavy machine gun, and so Volatile Flow was giving me the additional volatile rounds, which is helping chew through ads as well, and that was increasing my streak for the Void streak. So that was the setup that I used. Now going back into the build, I'm going to change that up real quick, and I'm going to swap down from here to a Void Siphon because it fits now. And so what we're looking at is trying to get as much resilience up to 70, max recovery and discipline, so that's where I was at for my recovery and discipline for my armor. From here I was running Font of Endurance to get my resilience to 100 once I picked up an orb, on top of having the Woven Mail. I was running Void Weapon Surge to help get a little bit of damage on my machine gun. I was running stacks on stacks to keep my stacks up for these things, and then time dilation to give me more time under that. Proximity ward was also important for survivability because I was kind of pushing pretty quickly through a lot of these. Heavy-handed, which was nice now that it's hopefully fixed. That was giving me orbs whenever I was throwing out threaded needles, and since I was generating a ton of orbs anyways from my void kills, it was hard to tell if that was actually working or not. But if it's working as intended, that's going to drop you a bunch of orbs from your threaded needle kills that kill things from your corruption with your gauntlets. And then impact induction, that's going to help me get my grenade back from all those melee kills or things that were counted as melee kills. Focusing strike, the same thing. That was helping me generate my class ability so that I always had a rift when I needed it. And then everything else is just kind of filler to get my stats up. From here, this one I should have adjusted to resistances. So in the Neomona Strike, there's void resistance that's important from the first boss that you're running into. The I'm trying to remember. It's like the Image of Nezarec was his name, but arc resistance is probably important, and you can run harmonic resistance if you're running something other than Strand. In this case, since I was on Strand, it's kind of useless for me there. And so what I would probably do is throw on the void reserves so that I would have additional void rounds for my heavy, and so that would be how I would correct the build from there. Then again, we talked about everything on the artifact. Let's go over the weapons and why they're important. So I was running the Perpetualis, and this is kind of that cool guy roll where it's Killing Wind, Golden Tricorn enhanced. And the reason why this is a nice roll is because your Golden Tricorn will tick up to ×2 with your melee kills when you're getting your grenade kills from your suspensions from your Weaver Strand. Sometimes will trigger that. Killing Wind makes it feel nice and snappy, and it just overall will shred things. The main gun that I was using, though, was the Commemoration with Force Times and Killing Tally. If you have the enhanced version, that's going to be even better. But this one is nice because you can keep it out with Killing Tally and run it as your primary. And what I was doing was just mowing through things with it until I was getting low on ammo. And then I started to mow through things with Perpetualis. And the reason why you want to stick to each one of these is because they give you the streaks. So this one will give you your Strand damage streak on top of a primary streak, and if you're accurate, a precision streak. And then the same thing here. This one will give you the precision streak if you're accurate, with the void streak on top of it, with a heavy streak. So you got primary and heavy. This one here, I only use this one for certain enemies like flanxes, for example, that start tossing those little arc darts, that seeking darts at you. This one is still bugged, so it'll like one-shot them, no problem. But mainly I have the fighting line for the boss because it does like 200k damage to the boss per hit, and it'll just chunk the boss's health down. That'll really cut down a lot of time in the boss fight, where you don't have to spend a whole lot of time trying to damage him and DPS him and saving your supers for the boss. Because you really want to spend your supers as either a Broodweaver or your Silk Strike, or if you're doing your Berserker and your Titan, killing adds, because you get your Let There Be Light bonus from killing a group of adds. So I was trying to save my my super for tons of adds, and then when I did that, I would actually get on my Perpetualis, and I would just mow down everything around all of my seeking threadlings. Because the threadlings themselves were causing suspensions. The threadlings themselves were causing the damage that I was needing, so that way I could stay in that Strand damage streak. And so once that was over, then I would go back to my Commemoration and clean up anything else that was left, trying to get my heavy and trying to get my score up from there. So pretty good build, really nice time running through these things, like in around 12-13 minutes, average around 15 minutes, because sometimes not everybody's as quick. But even if you're like carrying the other two people by yourself and you're not really worried about trying to get a high score for those people, I was always trying to get a high score for people that would work with me. Like if they were allowing me to get in there and get the finish while doing the emote on the champions, then I was doing my best to kind of get up the score to try to get it to that 250 mark for them, to try to get them in the top 10%. But if they were killing the champions out from underneath me, at that point I was like, let's just burn through this and try to get this strike done, so that way I can get right on to the next one. So I just let them handle the champions from there, and let them kind of try to get a chance to practice doing their finishers and stuff, and see if they picked it up on their own, that hey, if I finish the champion and I do an emote, I get so much, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of how I handled running with the match-made groups. Now from here I'm going to go into the next portion of the video, which is going to show what that looks like, kind of what the scoring looks like, and then talk a little bit about the farm that I did as well, to get the scout rifle up, to get all the things as far as the classy arsenal going, so you can see that too. So I touched on this a little bit in my prior video talking about how to get platinum in this mission, and this is going to be that same run, but I just wanted to kind of just go over the build for Warlock so they can kind of see exactly what I'm doing with this. So as you see, I'm coming in on the bridge, and I'm shooting the Centurions and the Legionaries, try to get them suspended, and to try to get my heavy speed growing, and you can see I've got the heavy and void spree going. Then I'll usually throw out a needle to try to get things suspended in front of me, and I'll go to town with my heavy, trying to get the precision kills, so that way I get strand spree, precision spree. I got demolition expert, heavy frenzy, all of that back to back to back, and it's just a ton of points. As you can see, I already got 16,000 points just off those first little set of ads. And then I'm going to hit the super here. If I get lucky on the spread, it'll actually end up killing all three of them, and I'll get a Let There Be Light like I just did here. And what I started to do is I started to get a little bit quicker at these champions in front of me. The very first run that I did this through, I was just mindlessly trying to get the spree, and I completely forgot and mowed through the champion accidentally. But you want to go in there and you want to suspend them, you want to hit them with a bunch of damage, get right next to them, hit your emote, and then go in there and finish them, because you're going to get the Giant Slayer, you're going to get finishing touches, and you're going to get insult to injury. And so that's going to be what I'm going to start doing with some of the other champions going forward. But all through that, as you can see, my primary is my heavy, and I'm just mowing through things, keeping my spree going, trying to get frenzy medals, and I'm going to try to stick with a lot of the same damage types. So like, for example, if I was starting the strand spree here, while I had the empowerment going and everything and tricoin going, I would want to stick with strand. So I would try to get all these kills up here with strand, so I can get my strand spree going, so I can get my primary spree going. Hopefully I've got good accuracy and I'm getting a precision spree going, and it's a lot easier, of course, when you have them strung up like I had the gladiator strung up right there. Then the next step, I'm going to go through and I'm going to go back to my heavy, and I'm going to start picking off the turrets, so that way they don't mow me down. And the heavy does a good job. It's like a couple shots and the turrets are dead. Pop my Weaver's Trance again, and start going to town, so that way it'll start suspending things. And again, try to be cognizant of your suspensions and try to keep them as precision kills the best you can, so that way you get the precision spree going, and you get points as well. Like, say you don't even get a spree, you still get additional, I think 12 points for a precision kill. From here, you're going to get a lot of enemies spawn in. You can either do one of two things. You can wait until the Unstoppable pushes you, and then use your Shackle Grenade on him, which is probably what I should have done. Or you can pop your Weaver's Trance and try to get a little lucky and get a Suspend Blast to put him up in the air. They fixed it to where now it will suspend Unstoppables. And as you can see, I still got my grenade back in time to make a difference, and I still got the finish off. But again, this was my very first run, kind of practicing and getting used to the Guardian games. Again, I should have emoted in front of him, and if I was with like a team that I could talk to, I would have said, hey, let me finish real quick and get the emote. Since I wasn't with the team that I could talk to, I was worried that that teammate was going to kill him, probably, so I rushed that. And right around here is when I start to realize, like, hey, I need to make sure I'm emoting, because the finishing touches is going to make the difference for that. So, sorry, not finishing touches, but insult to injury. That's how I got to my, I think, like 260 is where I was on my platinum before I decided, hey, that's good enough for me. Another thing you can do is you can get your energy sprees if you're running an energy weapon here. This is a good spot. You can also get the grenade frenzy and grenade sprees with the Fighting Lion, since it doesn't have any ammo reserve issues. You can just spam Fighting Lion and kill everything with Fighting Lion, and you can go on a spree there. Especially if you run out of heavy, like I'm out of heavy there. I only have 40 heavy. And so that's pretty much how I handle this section. From here, I'm going to skip over to the next section where you begin to fight the next set of Unstoppables. And so I'm coming up on the next section here, and you can see that I'm using my Fighting Lion to try to kill the flanks because the Fighting Lion is still bugged. So if I get a direct hit on these guys, it'll do like I think 140k damage to them and just one-shot them. I drop my Shackle Grenade, and from there I'm ready to get the finish in, although I should have emoted again. And like I said, this was my first run, so I was still trying to get used to doing this with randoms and match-made. And all of my runs this week were match-made. I haven't done any LFG runs because I just didn't see the need. I already got my platinum score in the top 10%, and I was fine with that. And so this one here too, same thing. You string them up, try to string them up away from the blast behind you. That way you're not getting hit by the darkness blast coming out of these void or corruption portals. Now I'm jumping over into the next section. I'm going to pop my Shackle Grenade. From here I'm throwing out Threaded Needles. You can also alternatively, if you have a lot of ammo reserves still, like if you got a good heavy drop, you can just kill everything with heavy. As you can see, I'm about to go to town with heavy in this scenario and just get my heavy spree going. Demolition Expert as well, because again, that's part of getting your grenade kills, and those grenade kills are going to be counted from your Shackle explosions. And now from here, I don't know exactly how to trigger it. I haven't looked into it, but if you can hold on to your arc cannon or the, I guess the void cannon, I guess. But if you can hold on to the cannon, and when you get to the very top of this lift here, there's going to be the corruption portal. If you shoot that corruption portal floating above, that'll actually remove all the corruption portals, so you can get through the Sparrow portion without having to worry about environmental damage. And another thing you should do that I probably didn't do here in this particular run is I started to stop and I started to get heavy ammo kills on these guys to get my heavy sprees going. And so each time you're with these guys, you can either do the strand spree or you can do the heavy spree. You could even pop your Weaver's Trance and try to get your demolition going with the strand spree. I opted to do the heavy because these guys pop around a lot if you're trying to shoot them while aimed down sights. But if you hip fire, the Thrall don't teleport around as much, so you can get pretty easy headshots from hip fire with them. And so that's what I was doing, is I was just hip firing and I was headshotting them and getting the headshot spree and the void spree with the heavy spree as well. And if I did it quick enough, you can get a heavy frenzy. Now on this guy here, same thing. You want to stun him, you want to get up in his face, you want to hit him with a shackle, and as you can see, I'm shooting my teammate because I'm annoyed that I was just about to shackle him and just about to get my kill using the finisher, and he comes in there and just blasts him because I guess he doesn't know yet. He hasn't watched my videos or anybody else's video that talks about the most important thing when it comes to Guardian game scoring is to try to get your finish off on these champions, and to try to make sure that you are doing the emote if you can. So I don't really have footage from my additional runs of this. I really just kept this one because this was my first platinum run that I was able to do with a decent score. And the other ones, you'll see that each time that I had a good group, they were letting me do the finish. They were letting me get the emote in, and I was actually getting them about half dead. I was getting the champion about half dead, and then I was just emoting in front of it while they were shooting it, and then I was just spamming my finish button, so that way I would get the finisher in before they could do anything silly and kill the champ too early, for example. So here it's kind of tough. Even with an LFG, you would be able to do it if you're talking to each other, but with a random match-made group, trying to get up to that overload and get that finish in without either dying from all the crap flying through the air or getting in a bad position in front of the overload and having the overload kill you. As you can see, I got it stunned, and I'm trying to get up to it, and there's not enough time. The other people get a little bit trigger happy, and they think they're doing the right thing, and they're absolutely not. But you're right into that, and like I said, if you're following this guide, and you're doing it solo, and you're just running through the match-made crew, it may take you a few times, but you have 15 tries if you're trying to get the title done. So in your 15 tries, one of these 15, you're going to have a group that's going to know what's up, and they're going to let you get up there, and they're going to let you get that finish off, and, you know, optimally get the finish off after you're doing an emote to get the insult to injury. Another thing too is, you know, reviving. Reviving gives you points. I don't know if it's still bugged to where you can just like stop and revive over and over again until you get over 300k, like you could before on strikes when you were trying to get to a certain threshold. But it's not necessary anymore. I don't even think there's a incentive anymore to being in like the top 10 or 1% or anything like that, other than putting it on your emblem from the other year. But this is the important section here, the boss fight. We're going to skip ahead to the point where the boss is spawning in. And now since the boss is in now, if you don't already have your super, you can actually charge it up pretty quickly using the beam cannons. They give you a ton of super because they do a ton of damage in a short period of time. Although you'll notice that even though the beam cannons are probably the most optimal way to damage the boss, the best way for me is going to be using Fighting Lion. Now later on, once I started to get more adept at running these and getting higher scores, I actually used my super here, not on the boss, but on that first group of ads. I got Let There Be Light Metal every time, and then I would get my super back in no time anyways with all the damage from the Fighting Lion. And you'll see here just the Fighting Lion, once it makes contact, it just cooks the boss. I mean, that was like 130k right there. You can actually jump over the boss's shield and shoot the Fighting Lion over the boss's shield. And you have the grenade currently, if it's the same in the week that you're watching it in this first week, you have that additional grenade 25% bonus, which I believe does stack as well. So the Fighting Lion, again, is just optimal for boss damage, and it's definitely worth not running an unstoppable weapon and running this instead, because if you're running Strand, you got the shock grenades. Those usually get the job done pretty well. And of course, as a Warlock, you've got the Trance, which if you can catch the Unstoppable walking next to an ad, and the Suspending Blast catches the Unstoppable, it'll also stun the Unstoppable and put it in a position where you can get in there and finish it. And so as you can see here, once I get the boss into the next phase, what's important is prioritizing, again, dumping your heavy, getting your primary, or getting your, well, either one, right, heavy or primary. If you're running the Strand weapon that I'm running, the Perpetualis, or if you're running another good Strand weapon, you can get a lot of Strand kills here, but since the machine gun is just so nice to keep out with the roll that I have, I was running the machine gun as my primary, and I was just knowing through things, getting precision kills, getting the demo kills, and getting the void streak. All of that was stacking up, and so that was what was getting our score really high. I was trying to avoid getting hit by those little darts because I don't think I had my resist on properly there yet. I didn't have my build set up correctly 100% in this particular run. So the next thing I do is getting the Let There Be Light medal there. I'm going to pop my Weaver's Trance, and I'm just going to go to town on all the ads underneath while letting the guys deal with the stuff up top. What I started doing, though, is I started actually hopping up with them and like killing all 4 of the Minotaurs, and then jumping down and killing the Thralls that gathered under my feet, because that was going to be a little bit more efficient and also helped out my teammates. Since the Minotaurs are running Void Shields and I'm running a Void Weapon, it was just beneficial to keeping my teammates alive and you know, keeping them from getting in bad positions or not encouraging them to kill all the other ads. So when I would kill the Minotaurs and drop their cannon, they would tend to pick them up and do the objective, which was nice. It was kind of annoying when people didn't do that, because then I had to do the objective and deal with getting the sprees and all of that. And then as you can see here, when it comes time to finish, the Strand super does a ton of damage to the boss. The Fighting Lion does a ton of damage to the boss. The boss doesn't last long. And this was one of my longer runs, and as you can see here, it's going to be like a 14-minute run. It was very quickly cut down to around 12 minutes on average, even with a little bit slower teammates, because I was just used to the flow. And it's just a nice, fast farm. I mean, you just do this 15 times, and everything else is all Neomuna. This is all Neomuna that we're doing, and it's going to progress the majority of your challenges. You just go through and you pick up the final few. And going into the final few, I'll go ahead and show you how I did that using the breakneck checkpoint. And then it's also on Legendary, so that way you know to load it up on Legendary so you can start double dipping the bounty as well. And also, while you're doing this, just to make sure that I mentioned it, as you can see here, I did have the Neomuna bounty. So every time that I got done with one of my runs, I would dump the Neomuna bounty, get the Platinum Medal, go back to Eva, pick up another Platinum Protector Neomuna bounty, and go right back in and do it again. So I was getting Platinum medals, I was getting medals from the completion, I was getting exotic drops like this helmet that you see here, and it's just a nice overall farm. Got it done in 2 days, and so let me show you how I got the scout rifle done. That way that'll help complete your grind. This can be the final section that talks about how to grind the breakneck checkpoint. So with the breakneck checkpoint, you just want to get to the section where you are dropping your raid banner and you have a ton of ads in a small space. This is not as efficient in leveling your weapons as a Shuro-chi checkpoint is, but it's nice because it does a lot of things during Guardian games for you. It'll help you progress Guardian game weapon kills, because those count, and it'll also help you get your scout rifle kills in, which is what I'm rocking. I'm rocking double scout right now to kind of show you how I would normally do that. And the raid banners are free, so for people who don't have a lot of shards, this is actually a good alternative to Shuro-chi. Once you get this checkpoint, you don't have to worry about dropping raid banners of Shuro-chi if you're running like a heavy, or if you're trying to get a special done and you're chewing through a lot of that ammo, don't have a good ammo economy setup. So what I'll do is I'll stop here and I'll start killing the goblins. And then once I get my health to about half, or once I start getting shot at, I'll drop my rift so I stay alive. Try to get the kill before my threadlings do, because you want all of this progress to be on your scout. Then you want to stun the Minotaur so that way he stops shooting at you right away, so you can clear a couple of these goblins out. And by the way, I'm on legendary, so that's why they're doing quite a bit more damage than if you were trying to farm this on regular. And you would normally want to farm this on regular, but since you're doing the Neomuna bounty, you want it to be on a higher difficulty, because it says here, higher difficulty lost sectors, Lightfall campaigns missions on legendary difficulty give you additional final blows and stuff, like give you additional progress and things like that. And so that's the next step. Then from here you have your Cyclops. The scout rifle I was running was the Outlaw with kill clip when I was trying to get the Class C arsenal done. It's also strand based, so when I shoot that it'll suspend and kill everything if I get kind of in trouble, for example. And the reason why I'm running the Doom of Chelchis is because I wanted to level it up still, because it wasn't fully enhanced. And it also has Void, so that I can take advantage of the volatile rounds. Now the key to this farm is that you don't want to progress it past killing the wyvern that's coming at me. So you can either jump past the wyvern and go and kill the stuff behind it, or you just kind of run in front of it and it'll kill you. If you stand still, it takes way too long to kill you, so strafing left and right kind of speeds it up. And from there, that'll help you get to the point where you're keeping the checkpoint, because you don't want to kill that wyvern and push past this point, and it'll stick you right in front of the door. You won't have to run back in like I did at the very beginning. From there, you just pop this, replenish your abilities. And now if you want to do this a little bit more controlled, you can always pop Weaver's Trance if you're on Warlock, and then that first kill will pop everything up. The reason why I didn't do this after a little bit is because of that right there. I would accidentally trigger the Strand Explosion, even though I didn't hit it myself. I would still hit it accidentally with the Weaver's Trance explosions, and then the Strand Explosion would just kill everything. So I stopped using Weaver's Trance because that was actually keeping me from progressing, because it was not counting my kills, and it was keeping me from getting the Class C Arsenal done, as well as the Scout done as quickly. And so once I stopped doing that, I started progressing like twice as fast, because most of the kills were getting actually taken from me as a explosion kill from Strand and not actually the Scout Rifle kill. And so that's pretty much it. You're just going to do this over and over again, and you're going to want to prioritize getting your Scout Rifle kills done. You get a ton of XP on your weapons, so if you're using a Scout that you're trying to level up, for example, then that'll help. If not, then just use your Tyrax Post, so that way you get your Scout done at the same time as Class C Arsenal, which is what I ended up doing. And other than that, that's pretty much the entire way that I got the Guardian games done, because that was the last few things for me. I'd already done everything else with the prior strategy. All I had left was the Talented Scout, the Classy Arsenal, and then I had to go back and do a couple more Supremacies, which was going to be, let's see, Class Pride. I had to finish up Class Pride. I think I had like 2 more Supremacies to get done because I'd already done all the other PvP related ones with my 8 games that I did. And so I went back and knocked out those 2 Supremacies, and then I went to the tower, claimed my titles, and now I'm a Reveler. So hopefully this guide helps you guys out, and you guys can get this done here over the weekend and not have to worry about having to come back to grind. My plan is just to log in like a Tuesday and Wednesday, knock out whatever the new challenges are for these 2 vying for supremacy and shoot to score quest lines, and then just taking it easy and knocking out the rest of the challenges that I have to kind of go through and finish up. And thankfully this week is Rift, so I'm going to have to play some Rift this week to finish up the Spark Defender. I just couldn't be bothered to go into comp and try to do this through comp and get lucky with it, so I had to do that and the Gambit stuff, and then I should be finished up for the season. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the guide. Thanks very much again for all my new subscribers, and for anybody watching this video to the end as well. If you subscribe, I really appreciate all the support. If you have any good feedback for me, just go and leave that into the comments below as well. I do respond to most of my comments, and I appreciate all the feedback. Thanks very much. You guys have a good day.